In March 1922, a heavy snowfall blanketed the isolated Bavarian farmstead of Hinterkaifeck. On the edge of the property, the farm's owner, 63-year-old Andreas Gruber, discovered a fresh trail of footprints cutting through the snow. They began at the tree line of the nearby forest. They led straight toward the rear entrance of the farmhouse. Andreas followed the tracks, expecting to find a loop where a hunter or neighbor had turned around. Instead, the tracks stopped directly at the wall of the house. There were no footprints leading away. He searched the outbuildings, the barn, and the perimeter of the woods, but found no one. He did not notify the local authorities. Over the next 2 days, the anomalies moved closer. A set of house keys vanished from the kitchen. Soon after, Andreas found a Munich newspaper on his porch that no one in the household subscribed to. Then, deep scratches were discovered on the lock of the family tool shed, where the heavy farm equipment was stored. The family believed someone was trying to break in, completely unaware that the footprints had already reached the door. The farmhouse at Hinterkaifeck was old and sprawling. By mid-March, the family began hearing heavy, rhythmic thuds coming from the attic directly above their bedrooms. 6 months earlier, their previous maid had abruptly quit. She claimed she constantly heard footsteps and voices in the house. The Grubers had dismissed her. Now, Andreas stood in the dark hallways, listening to the ceiling boards flex under a steady weight. When he finally investigated, he found the attic door unlocked. The dust on the floorboards was disturbed. Investigators later discovered that sections of the roof tile had been shifted, offering a clear view of the courtyard below. Strips of meat from the family's smokehouse were also found missing, suggesting someone had been rationing the food supply. On March 31st, a new maid, Maria Baumgartner, arrived at the farm. She spent her first afternoon unpacking her belongings in a small room adjacent to the kitchen, entirely unaware that someone had been eating the family's food and watching the yard. From the rafters directly above her head, the sun set over Hinterkaifeck, and the attic steps finally came down. On the evening of March 31st, 1922, 4 members of the household entered the dark farm stable, one by one. Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and their 7-year-old granddaughter, Cecilia. Waiting inside was an individual wielding a mattock, a heavy, double-sided farming tool belonging to the Grubers. Each person was struck in the head from behind. Forensic autopsies later revealed that the 7-year-old child did not die instantly. The evidence showed she lay in the straw for hours in the dark, tearing out clumps of her own hair in shock before succumbing to her wounds. The killer then walked from the barn into the living quarters. Maria Baumgartner was killed in her bed. 2-year-old Joseph was struck down last, inside his bassinet in Victoria's bedroom. 6 bodies lay distributed across the property, and the farm fell completely silent. The murders were over, but the kitchen fire was about to be lit. From Saturday through Monday, neighbors observed regular smoke curling from the kitchen chimney at Hinterkaifeck. Passing local farmers noted a man moving through the yard. The family Pomeranian was found tied up outside the barn, barking intermittently. Inside the house, bread had been sliced, meat from the pantry had been prepared and eaten, and beds had been recently slept in. The farm's dozens of cattle had been fed and milked throughout the weekend. On Tuesday, April 4th, a search party finally walked onto the property after the older child missed school. Inside the stable, covered carefully with straw and a discarded old door, they found the 4 adults. They were stacked directly on top of one another in a pile, concealed from anyone peering through the barn windows. In the house, thousands of German marks in cash and gold jewelry were left completely untouched, in open drawers. With robbery ruled out, detectives began looking into the family's inner circle, uncovering a town secret that pointed directly to a wealthy neighbor. Suspicion immediately fell upon Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a wealthy local neighbor who had been in a relationship with the widowed Victoria. Schlittenbauer claimed he was the father of 2-year-old Joseph, though local rumors persisted that Joseph was the product of an incestuous relationship between Victoria and her father, Andreas. Schlittenbauer was ultimately cleared. He could not have abandoned his own farm for 4 days to live at Hinterkaifeck without his family noticing. In a desperate bid for a breakthrough, Munich detectives decapitated all 6 bodies and sent the skulls to a clairvoyant, hoping a psychic could extract impressions from the bone. The psychic found nothing. Furthermore, during the post-war bureaucratic chaos, the government completely lost all 6 skulls. When the family was finally laid to rest in the village cemetery, they were buried in headless coffins. In 1923, the villagers completely demolished the farmhouse. To erase the physical reminder of the crime, the identity of the person who fed the cattle and kept the fires lit alongside the dead remains unknown.